So I like it because I think that its leadership is excellent and its staffing is excellent. So it's an efficient meeting.
I like being on development because I like working and seeing all the families that support our camp program. This is a major mission and it's a lot of fun.
I like serving on development because it gives me the opportunity to use my technical skills to support the yearly meeting.
In addition to being a committee which works well together and accomplishes things, something that I enjoy is actually probably true of most BYM committees, that it's an opportunity to get to know more people from BYM, from different corners of BYM, and that's always a pleasure.
I like being on the development committee because our purpose is to find ways to raise money for our yearly meeting. I mean, what could be more fun or more important? It's right at the center of the yearly meeting. And I also love, as someone else has said, working with other colleagues. We have a great time together. It's just a treat to spend, even though we're on Zoom, it would be more fun in person, but it's still a treat to work with all of you. And I find it a joy.
I like being on this committee as the liaison. I'm the liaison from Stewardship and Finance Committee. I like learning how the two committees relate to each other. Also, it's the first time I've ever been on any sort of development committee, so it's been a great educational experience for me. I've always wanted to learn more about what's involved with development. So it's been a great learning experience. And lastly, I love having concrete goals and being able to accomplish them. So I love that aspect of it as well.
This is Gloria from Sandy Spring, and I wanted to echo what our friend Arthur said, that I have great joy in working with others and getting to know my co-committee members from across the yearly meeting, and also to express gratitude to our donors.
Yeah, well, it's good that you're calling on me, Les. I don't really, what several other people have said echoes with me.
One of the things I love about Development Committee is I think we all might agree with this, I really love Baltimore Yearly Meeting. And so part of what we get to do in development is talk about how the yearly meeting, talk about the programs, promote the yearly meeting, encourage people to engage and be part of yearly meeting. And so development is, you get to do all those things as part of development work. That's all of us except Nikki, but we'll let you jump in, Nikki, as our staff person, maybe what you love about Development Committee.
What I love about development is I find it to be a ministry of including everybody that wants to be included in our community in the ways that they are able and happy to engage with us. I really like that. And I love these committee members. You all are so active and engaged, and I never feel like I'm alone. You are so good at finding ways to encourage our community to live up to the promises that they make at annual session when they approve our budget.
So first I want to speak as the clerk. One important function of ANO is to represent BYM during the formation of a preparative meeting. That is a small group under the care of a monthly meeting that over time may grow to become a separate, self-sustaining monthly meeting in its own right. Also, if a monthly meeting from another yearly meeting is considering moving to BYM, then ANO will be involved in that process also. More generally, we provide resources that can be used by monthly meetings to attract and retain new members. For example, using the internet and websites in responding to inquirers. There is lots of useful work to do, and we're very grateful to the Nominating Committee for identifying and recruiting friends interested in ANO. Speaking now as a member of the committee, the work that is most important to me personally is Jesus Friends. This group consists of friends who feel comfortable using biblical and Christian language to express their faith. The work includes keeping the monthly calendar of Jesus Friends events current, and leading a variety of events, discussion groups, and monthly worship sharing, Bible studies, and so forth. The opportunity to start up Jesus Friends was the initial reason for my interest in joining ANO, but over time, my involvement has become much broader. I am still quite clear about the leading of the Spirit in continuing this service to BYM. And now we'll hear from somebody else.
So my name is Madeline Mirasol, and my monthly meeting is York Friends in York, Pennsylvania. So I am about 45 minutes north of Baltimore. And I just joined the ANO committee this past summer. There was a reach out from the nominating committee, and they made an announcement during our business meeting asking for people who might be interested in joining a committee for Baltimore Yearly Meeting. And I am fairly new to the Quaker community. I've been attending York Friends since 2022. And I felt like being a part of, something bigger than just I've been working as the recording clerk at York Friends, and I wanted to kind of branch out and meet friends who were at other meetings. And the membership at my York Friends meeting said this would be a really great way to kind of find other friends in other meetings, but then also learn more about what it means to be a Quaker. And I'm definitely, very much in some ways a selfish member of the ANO committee, because I'm here to get something out of it for me. I want to learn. And I can kind of report that even in the short time that I've been on the ANO committee, that I've been really blessed to be working with Quakers who have been in the Baltimore Yearly community for a good while longer than I have. And so I feel like I'm learning a whole lot. And also the other really lovely thing is that it's been clear to me that I belong here. And so that's been really lovely. In terms of the work that I find the most rewarding on the committee right now is being able to lend a little bit of my professional expertise in kind of looking at some of the ways that the ANO committee is putting out information for monthly meetings to use. So we've been looking at resources on the website and figuring out how much we might be able to reorganize them to help other meetings use those resources, apply them, and also kind of looking at other digital ways of being able to send out resources that people like me who might be new to the Quaker community can use. And so that feels like I'm doing something helpful, which I find that to be quite satisfying. The only other thing that I would say is, and I think that Steve and the rest of the committee has been lovely about this, is that I was concerned at the beginning about how much I would need to participate or be expected to participate. And the really lovely thing is that on the ANO committee, everybody is able to give just as much as they have the bandwidth for. And I feel like it's very egalitarian in terms of how much everybody is contributing. And I never feel like it's something that is going to, I can never come to a meeting and say like, oh, I didn't get the work done that I needed to get done, and then feel badly about it. It's a very welcoming and warm community that is grateful no matter how much we are able to get done or how much we have to lay over until the next meeting. So I'm super super grateful for that. And also I would say that that's probably the one insight that I've learned is that as little or as much as you can give, it's all going to be productive and make a difference. So that's what I've got.
So the reason that I love being on a committee at BYM is because we share the responsibility for decisions that are made about the properties, and that makes it a lot easier for me to be an employee of the yearly meeting, because I appreciate working with a community of folks who share responsibility for decision making.
So I'm Kevin. I'm not a Quaker, but I'm a friend of friends, and I'm eternally indebted to the camps for helping my children to grow into who they are. And I enjoy the property committee specifically because I find it to be a really practical way of helping the program. And I get to meet really good people and see their better angels, see their better sides, which is very inspiring for me.
All right, Jackie, you're up.
Okay. I've been on the camping program committee and the camp property management committee for many, many years combined, and have thoroughly enjoyed every single minute of it. I've sent my children, nieces, nephews, and now grandchildren to camp, and being on the committees helps me to keep in touch with what's going on at camp. It constantly reminds me of how important camp is. I love being connected to the properties in any way because they're such beautiful places to be. And I have made some of my absolutely best friends anywhere through these BYM committees. And I think that's truly my favorite part, is becoming a part of the larger BYM. It's one thing to know all the friends in your monthly meeting, but it's just an absolute treat to meet friends from other meetings. So I would say that's my favorite part.
Great. Chris, I think you're up next.
So what I like, there's quite a few reasons. I'll shorten it up. I love the Baltimore Yearly Meeting community. I've been part of it since I was 6 years old, like 40 years ago. I've been part of the overall Baltimore Yearly Meeting. I think the first time I went to yearly meeting was like, I was like 7 years old or something. I love being on the committees because it allows me to be part of that community again. Just the best memories, the Quaker community, just, being part of the committee, being part of that active part of the community where I can make a difference too, and still get to have fellowship with all these peaceful people that just, mutual love, this is great, and so yeah, it's just being part of the community, helping out and stuff, and like, because I just, I don't get that everywhere in my life, so it's really good to be on a committee because I can directly help and then be part of have fellowship at the same time with the Baltimore Yearly Meeting community. So it's really cool, yeah. And they let you, you do what you can when you're on the committee. You don't have to be all that. Whatever your strengths are, you pitch in what you can. So it's really wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Blaine, you're up.
All right. So when I first started going to Stony Run Friends meeting in the early '90s, one of the earliest events that really sticks out was the camping weekend that the monthly meeting had. And we went to Camp Catoctin for the weekend, and the kids played in the Goon and in the sand pit, and we went hiking, and it was just marvelous. And I had no idea that it was Baltimore Yearly Meeting property because I didn't even know what Baltimore Yearly Meeting was. But over the years, I came to learn what it is, and I like serving on the Camp Property Management Committee because it's a way to help make sure that those resources, those camps, will be around for a long time for more people who discover what BYM is to enjoy those camps.
I just rotated off the committee. 6 years on the committee and several of those years as clerk. And I just went on trustees and asked if I could be the liaison to this committee again, because I really have enjoyed working with all of you. And we have made incredible progress. I mean, we moved a camp to another space and totally rebuilt it. And each member of this committee has really contributed an incredible amount to make children happy. Yeah, I have a long history in my family. My sons went to Catoctin. They went to Teen Adventure. They went to Talk. They became counselors. And, I've been riding this ride for a long time, and I really enjoyed it.
Because, we bring suggestions to the yearly meeting. We bring a slate of people to the yearly meeting. Not everybody has to worry too much about who all is doing what. They only have to worry about what is it they're being asked to do. And one of the things I remember Carrie saying when I first started, saying it's a great way to get to know people in the yearly meeting, because you can't help but meet new people.
Mm-hmm. I always told everyone I would never be on a nominating committee, and here I am, and turns out it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's great to work with these other wonderful people.
Right. This is a well organized committee too. I was a little skittish until I heard how organized it is and how cooperative it is. So it's good.
It is well organized, and I think too we have a specific task ahead of us, which makes us a little bit unique in terms of maybe some of the other committees in BYM. But I enjoy working on BYM committees because I get to make friends in the wider Quaker community and to see how spirit moves among all sorts of different people. And that really inspires me.
Yeah.
Yes, working on nominating committee does allow us to meet people in a variety of meetings and learn a little about their background and what they're interested in, and that is a real treasure.
I find it's so different to know people all around the yearly meeting than to just know people at my monthly meeting. Mm-hmm. And, I love that because I run into the same people at annual session, and as others have said, just calling people up on the phone, you're going to meet them. And I thought, Debbie, that you said something really important, because someone said to me, and I believe it's true, that the committees break down into groups that are administrative, quote unquote, and those that are like in charge of programming their own time and developing their own project. And I think in general, it could help friends who are interested in service to think about those two very different categories and see which one they might either already feel drawn to or might feel drawn to, so that they can learn more about that work.
Lining up people to serve on committees helps keep the yearly meeting running. And we definitely consider how the anti-racism queries, as well as other, our other values, but how are those played out in the choices that we make? And we certainly, do try and think of people of color to ask for roles, and young people to ask for roles without, asking the same 5 people again and again for every committee.
I think a nominating committee is really like the straw that stirs the drink at a meeting. You can really make such a big difference, and
Mm-hmm. It's an important job. It's kind of a humbling to be able to be trusted with this.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. I've really enjoyed it. It's really given me a better understanding of how the yearly meeting functions. And that's really been very helpful, especially as we then now go out and search for people to join different committees. I have a much better understanding of what I'm asking them to do.
And we have a unique perspective on discussions about how the yearly meeting needs to change, because it does, but our perspective on not only how hard it is to find people, but what are the obstacles? What are we hearing out about when they turn us down and when they take us up on an offer? It's given me a really useful perspective on conversations about change.
There's a lot of talk at our meeting about vocation this year and how important it is to people. People really, I think young people are really trying to find that some work that they can just really dive into. And so it's such a responsibility to help them and kind of see if you can help, like, put them in a place where they can thrive.
Or test things out, and maybe something that they thought they might like and be good at, they realize this isn't really a good match with my gifts, or that was interesting, let me do something else now.
But I think one of the things that we learn in talking with people is maybe where we need to learn to be more flexible in terms of the way we've always done things, and maybe it's not serving us as well as it has in the past, especially as we want to get younger people involved. I know I talked with somebody in my meeting who would like to be involved, but he can't make the kind of commitment that some of us can make because we're retired or whatever. And so, we just have to learn from that and see where we can be flexible along the way.
What work really needs to be done by a committee that meets most months in a 3-year term, and what work doesn't need to be done in that format? What else can be done in a shorter pieces or whatnot, which is part of what working groups address.
The Indigenous Affairs Committee has been in existence in Baltimore yearly meetings since the late 1800s. Its purpose is to create interest in Native Americans and awareness of what's happening with them, and especially to help us be involved with them and learn from them. Native Americans continue to be treated unjustly in many ways. And it's part of our work as Quakers to be aware of that, to partner with them, and to fight that injustice. They're still here, and they still have a lot to teach us and a lot to give if we approach that task with humility and interest and curiosity. We're all here for different reasons. For me, I'm here in part because even in my childhood, I was impressed by the wisdom of Native Americans, and it stayed with me all my life. It's deeply different from what the culture was teaching me. The Native Americans taught me to say thank you to animals, to plants, to treat everything with respect. That wasn't a message I was getting much from my culture, but that's why I'm here. Betty, why are you here?
I felt called to serve on this committee to bring two important parts of my life together. That is my work with Native people in the United States in K-12 school settings, and my life as a Quaker. I've worked in both, but they really haven't been integrated. So I was hoping that I could learn and contribute my background and experiences and blend them with experience of others and to connect it with my Quaker concerns.
Thank you, Betty. John, what's meaningful to you?
What's meaningful to me is that there have been involvement with the Native Americans by Baltimore Yearly Meeting from the very get-go, as well as Philadelphia Yearly Meeting and New England Yearly Meeting. And we've been involved with Native Americans as helpers, and sometimes that help has created a lot of harm that we've come to unearth. So my work at Pendle Hill involving Native people and coming towards right relationship with them led to the formation of Decolonizing Quakers, which has quite a number of Native American Indigenous people on that committee. And listening to the ways in which our culture has formulated a white culture around Quakers really is a narrowing of our universalism and our humanity, and we have a lot to learn from our Native American siblings. And I am looking forward to engaging more with this committee in doing that with the Native Americans within our geographical area.
Steve Tatum, what brought you here?
When I was a kid, we had a book in our house written by my great-great-grandfather, Laurie Tatum, about his work at Fort Sill as an Indian agent. He was an Iowa farmer, and actually, I was born in Iowa, so there's a lot of connection there through the family. But my knowledge was way out of date. I had this book, and it was third quarter of the 19th century, and I really thought, I was amazingly ignorant of the current situation. Native Americans are one of the peoples you just don't really learn too much about. You're not very much exposed to, like with the civil rights movement and African Americans. We live around, we've always engaged with African Americans, to some extent with Latinos, just because they're in our communities and because kind of the justice issues. But I was really ignorant of Native Americans and thought it'd be a good way to learn about them, to get up to date. And the committee has done that. It's been a really wonderful resource for that.
Bill Mims?
Before I joined the committee, I had only a little knowledge of the situation of Native peoples in this country, but I did have a passionate interest in the treatment of Palestinians in the Middle East, who I had seen being treated in ways that were fairly similar to the ways that the Native people in this country have been treated, and I have struggled to help them live their lives and gain and maintain dignity and respect. And then it hit me that here I was sitting in this country, living in the land of the Piscataway and the Manahoac Indians, and I needed to think about what I could do here in my own country to understand and hopefully better the situation of the Native peoples that were here in my own country.
The work of the Indigenous Affairs Committee is deeply related to our Quaker values. John, could you say more about that?
Well, I think that in some ways we have denigrated the values of Native Americans in the past by a kind of a white supremacist culture, and that we are only now coming to the point where we really, as we had at the beginning, understanding that we share many values with those of Native American tribes. In particular, starting with truth, that the idea that truth and living a life of integrity is extremely important. It broadens our sense of what community is to include a universalism that includes plants and animals as creatures created by the Creator, and our need to recognize that instead of our capitalist, extractive program that we've been involved with as a culture. So I think both Quakers and Indigenous people are countercultural in their understanding of what nature, of which we are a part, has to offer us as humans.
As Quakers, one of the things that we try to practice is deep listening, because we know that spirit is within others and can teach us, if we are open. Bill, could you speak to the opportunities to listen?
Sure. Recently, I've had 2 occasions to do some serious listening to Native Americans. One of them was a couple of months ago. The winter spring session of the National Council of the American Indian was held here in Washington. I was able to attend, and I heard a wide range of incredibly articulate views about their struggle for sovereignty, for dignity, respect, and I learned a lot about their wisdom that we white European Americans have for so long disregarded. Another instance also gave me that opportunity. I was on a trip to the Pacific Northwest, and I was able to hear a Native American from Nimipu, which white Americans have named the Nez Perce, which is totally false. But anyhow, a native a member of that tribe talk about their traditions and their histories and how powerful the stories are that have come down through not just generations, but hundreds and even thousands of years. And for example, how powerful the coyote is in their culture, and how many wonderful things stories are told about the coyote, which explain the real world to them and cause them to respect it far beyond what I see us folks doing. So if I had, unfortunately, I've had practice in sitting quietly and listening because I'm a Quaker.
Mm-hmm. And being on the committee can give us a wider perspective on Quaker values. Betty?
Serving on this committee makes us aware of the issues that go beyond Baltimore Yearly Meeting, because there is collaboration among New England Yearly Meeting, Philadelphia, yearly meeting groups across the country around the whole boarding school issue. And it's sort of shocking for Quakers to realize that we participated in that abuse at boarding schools. There were Quakers involved in those boarding schools. So that challenges our values and brings us to share with the reparation movement and with the forgiveness movement with Americans and Christians across our country. So in that sense, at first I used to think, well, there aren't very many Native Americans in the Baltimore Yearly Meeting region, but there are across the country, and the abuse that we have heaped on them is a national issue. So in that sense, it takes us nationally across the different yearly meetings and across the different Christian groups who are trying to look at this, not only Christian, but spiritual as well, who are concerned about our past.
Susanna, I'd like to add to what Betty just said. One of the things that through my work with Native Americans and Quakers in this regard is how important it is for us to be listening for continuing revelation. And when we have the brilliant insights that we have of how to help other people, to remember nothing about us without us can be for us. And that was something that we lost when we thought better of how. I have no doubt that the people who worked as Indian agents, as Stephen's great-grandfather did, or those who went to teach in mission schools and boarding schools, thought that they were following the light that they were given. And I think it's a humbling to all of us to learn that lesson, how wrong we might be when we are only listening to people like us.
American Friends Service Committee was founded in 1917, and its mission is And I quote, "Guided by the Quaker belief in the divine light of each person, AFSC works with people of all faiths and backgrounds to challenge unjust systems and promote lasting peace." American Friends Service Committee has a corporation made up of representatives from yearly meetings around the country and other Quaker bodies that meets twice a year in April for a fuller retreat, and then in November for a Zoom meeting. And at those meetings, Quakers from around the country offer guidance to the organization about what to do. It is a genuinely meaningful experience.
Anti-racist queries, which is a part of what we typically do as a part of this meeting. How could this decision affect those who have been harmed by racist behavior? To what degree have privilege, class, stereotypes, assumptions, and our ability to include other perspectives affected this decision? Will this decision promote equity, diversity, and inclusiveness? Will it enable us to be more friendly and whole?
Good day. My name is Rich Thayer. I'm a trustee for the Baltimore Yearly Meeting. If you clicked on this button, you're probably wondering, what's a trustee? Well, we represent the yearly meeting in all secular matters involving contracts, property, finances, taxes, lawsuits, and the like, but all in the spirit of Baltimore Yearly Meeting fulfilling the social testimonies of our religious society of friends, which is a tall order. Why do I do it? Well, it's been an amazing ride, more satisfying than I could have possibly imagined when I started. The trustees are a diverse collection of dedicated friends with legal, financial, property, and business expertise. We come together in the spirit to address some of the thorniest issues that you can imagine that come up where spiritual meets the secular. We wrestle with how can we follow the law? How can we respect the integrity of those around us, all while following our faith and values? And the reality is, individually, we can't. However, when we get together, we feel the Spirit moving among us. It guides us. It helps us discern the way forward. We felt this strongly in January when we joined Philadelphia and New England yearly meetings in challenging the right of immigration officers to interfere with worship without due process. That's our faith in action. That's why I'm a trustee. Hi there. My name is Rich Thayer. I'm one of Baltimore Yearly Meetings representatives to Friends Peace Teams. What is Friends Peace Teams? What does a representative do? Why do I do it? Good questions. Friends Peace Teams is a spirit-led organization working around the world to bring peace building, healing, and reconciliation to communities in conflict. The wars in Chechnya, the Ukraine, and Gaza, the genocide in Rwanda, the oppression of indigenous peoples in North and South America. These are just a few of the places where we work. Our workshops and small groups serve to support, encourage, and empower people in the worst of circumstances. We offer ways to confront and resolve conflict, even violent conflict, in more peaceful ways. There are a number of us in Baltimore Yearly Meeting involved with Friends Peace Teams. I have the formal liaison role with the meeting, but we all are part of the peace building work in one or more of the region's programs. Some of us do virtual workshops, some of us serve as translators, some trainers, some program coordinators, and many other roles. To collaboratively partner with like-minded friends in hands-on peace work is, for me, deeply satisfying. The need is great, and we'll find you a place. Please join us.